So we pull this up, that, it's locked into place. We flip this round here like this, that's locked into place. Put the kickstand on, and it's as simple as that, job done. When it turns up in like a square box, it's folded, wheels are on. The only thing you need to put on is that saddle, the 2 pedals and the handlebars, and you're away. So what we're dealing with, well, we've got a Tawny derailleur there with a derailleur guard, foldable pedals, dual guard for the chainring. Nice folding action there. The folding action's really nice, and the locks are really good. 160 rotors, mechanical brakes. Same on the front, 160 rotor, mechanical brake. Folding pedals, plastic ones, so they're a bit kinder on your shins. 7-speed Shimano freewheel. Guessing the controller's in there. Well, the controller is in there. There's nothing stopping you from, there'll be plenty of space in there to put a blender and put a second battery on the back, which I'd advise because that seat's doing nothing. Front suspension, it's either on or off. At this price point, that's all you're getting. Rear brake light there. Wheel lock washer there, you see, stop the wheel from dropping out. Nice little Yoling colour display. Nice grips. Adjustable height stem there with the measuring points there, so you know where it needs to go back to when you folded it up. I don't know if you can see the lens there, but it's a very powerful light. There's no point in me showing you what a light's like because it's a light. So you look at the saddle, it flips up so you can remove the battery, and as you can see by the springs, it's very comfortable. You can test your battery there, look, see what power's left in it. The battery is in fact 36 volt, 18 amp hours. I'll put the watt hours up on the screen. Rear rack with a padded seat, I don't know why, but there seems to be there, look, if you have a look through there, there's a point for putting on what's probably pegs, but there's nothing on this side. Weird. Tombstone gear adjuster there, next to the throttle. And then you've got mechanical brake levers. The little bell's cool. That paintwork though. Paintwork's gorgeous, especially in this iridium colour. So this is Aurora blue. When they asked me what I wanted, what colour, it was this. 20B3 alloy wheels. They're very light, they're very thin, but it doesn't stop them from doing the job. 20B3 Chaoyang tyres with, there's the tread there, look. It does say 20B3 CSTs on the website, but that's not the case at all. Nice folding stem. It's very strong. I'll give it a good wiggle and it's fine. Again, that paintwork. Check out this turning circle. And look at that. Brilliant turning circle.
Right, let's do the hill climb. So today we're running on a 36 volt, 18 amp hour battery. fully legal UK e-bike. Comes up to 4 miles an hour. Throttle engaged. So let's see how it gets up this hill. Fafrees Max Pro. I'm not sure what controller is in it, but I'll put it in the breakdown. It weighs about 9 kilos less than the Ebike L20. Getting up this hill. So yeah. I'm putting in a little bit more effort than I normally would, but that's down to 36 volt architecture. Just made it up here. Well, it's a nice spring day. I can prove that by telling you how many bugs I've already eaten this morning. I'm on a sum total of 3 at the moment. Because it's 3-inch tyres, it's just downhill. Going down to where I do the hill climb, I got up to just short of 40 kilometers an hour. Before I bottled it, I think I could have got more. But as you're about to see, one of my bugbears with these bikes is about to become apparent. Did a brake test. These are full on right now. They're not bad, they're not brilliant. They have no place being on here. You need hydraulics. Well, it is what it is. In pass 3, it goes 1 to 3 out the box. So in pass 3, as you can see right now, 32. So get a bit of pedalling going. Stop pedaling, stop using any power. I mean, at the moment I'm doing 34, 35. 35 kilometers down it. Oh, this ain't even a steep hill. And I'm going into the wind, so you might be picking that up on the mic. So we're coming up to the Benny Hill. If you're new to the channel, I call it the Benny Hill because it's a bendy hill and it sucks the life out of the battery. You know, you can feel the difference because of those 3-inch wide tyres. They're not causing as much resistance as 4-inch, and it does make, obviously, 25% difference. Let's see how this little controller does coming up here with this 36 volts. Fingers crossed. So I'm in pass 3 again. So it's been in pass 3 most of the time coming up here. But out. I have to put in a little bit more effort than I normally do. But the bike's lighter. If I was coming up here on one of the normal 33, 35 kilo bikes, I wouldn't make it. But because it's lighter, I'm getting up here. It does have very heavy battery sag. But I made it up here. I'll get on £240 with my pack on. But the tyres are sort of luxurious in comparison with what I was dealing with in London on Sunday. Right, let's see what it's like around town. I'm interested to know what control is in there actually. Because on the flat, this thing just shifts around lovely. And because it's light, yeah, different gravy. Yeah, so it's very nimble. But what this bike is, I think it represents, the same as all the Engro stuff, represents really good value for money. I love the colourway on this bike. So I went for, when they asked me what colour I wanted, I asked for a Aurora blue. But there's about 5 or 6 different other colours on there that you can choose from. Right, let's get on with the tyre grip test. People wonder how they get run over, don't they? So 28, 29, 30 kilometers an hour. Yeah, that's fine. Let me show you this throttle on the flat. Don't forget my weight. So 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 20, 21. What the? Legal speed limit, but the throttle. Oh. There must be a way of locking that off, surely. we're doing the other horrible hill, because I'm not going down my normal route, and to come up here is less time consuming. So yeah, we're coming up here today. Again, we've used it before. This is equally a tough hill as the other one. There's a lot to like about this little bike. I'm already kind of fond of it. I do love a step through. If you haven't watched my channel before, you'll see that I'm really fond of a step through. Because I'm old. You know, I'm in my 60s, so I haven't got the mobility I used to have. Yeah, it's made look there lovely. You've got to torture these things with hills. You know, you've got to know if it's gonna get you where you want to go. And if you're 12, 13 stone, one, you're gonna get a bit more range than me, but you're also gonna get a little bit more power out the bike. And it's dragging my fat ass around, which is no mean feat. Currently riding along with no assist whatsoever, and it's fine. You know, you could get away with taking, you know, if you run out of battery, you get away with riding it home. So yeah, I'm in pass 1, just pottering along 15 kilometers an hour. I mean, there's people about, I don't need the power to get up hills or anything around here. It just extends the range. And this is enough power for what I need for going around here. As you can see, it does fine on this sort of terrain. It's something you can throw in the back of the car. It's lightweight, folds up to a small package, and it's easy to get in and out. Morning everyone. When you're going off road with it on the grass, it's fine. Get a bit more resistance. You can always set it up a couple of more pass settings and just go off wherever you want to go. It's ideal for that. That's what it's built for. So off road, it's fine. Yeah, one of the biggest surprises is how well it absorbs the bumps, and that's what you want out of one of these. You don't want it to be a bone shaker. You want it to take in some of the bumps and absorb them for you. So, but the saddle's another thing. The saddle's great. The saddle's very, very comfortable. Like I said, going off road on the mud, it's fine. It's got a good grip to it. I mean, it's quite damp still, this grass, so you know, it's doing quite well. So yeah, I can hear that brushless motor putting down power on the grass. But, you know, so far I've done nearly 30 kilometres on this, and I'm still on half the battery. So range-wise, you're getting a lot for you. If you break down the watt hours, see, the saving grace to this is its weight. Again, I'll go on about its weight. That's its saving grace. It doesn't need a lot of power to get you going. 3-inch tyres, 23 kilos, whatever it is. Brilliant. So if I come back down into town, I just want to say that pass 3 on here, brilliant. Really is powerful. It just gets you up to the limit quite quickly, and it just leaves you there as long as you're pedaling. That cadence sensor sort of works very well with this little brushless motor. maybe brushless motors are the way to go. But yeah, it's kind of different feel to the other bikes that I've ridden before. I mean, the only thing I could possibly equate it to is probably the L20 SE, the foldable one. That's got 3-inch tyres on. And, you know, I can't see it being as good as this. But what it does give you, it gives you... This is what I mean, I've got nothing. The only other frame of reference I've got is to pull it in with the L20, which it's not, because it's not 48 volt, it's not 3-inch tyres, and it's a different animal altogether. The other thing this thing does well, is it does absorb the bumps quite well. You know, you think, I mean, I've got these tyres set up at, I can't remember what I've set them up at. I think it's just under the limit. And they work absolutely fine. They in themselves take a little bit of the bumps out. I mean, the fork's just an on-off thing. It's like all or nothing. So there's no real adjustment there. You can either have a bit of suspension with it, or you can have it like I've got it, locked out. The reason I have it locked out is because it's great. Well, in traffic, as you can see, it shifts away. So we were doing 30, 31. I mean, we're going downhill, admittedly, but you know, this is where you can save a bit on your range as well. Even at this weight, the brakes aren't the best, but they're an easy swap out. You can swap these out for hydraulics quite easily, and it'll cost you about 50, 60 pounds. I mean, if you're lighter than me, the brakes are probably adequate. But if you're my weight, and like say 240 pounds with my pack on, you know, that's up there. That's up there in weight, so it does say it's 140 kilos payload. I can believe that. It's a sturdy thing, it's solidly made. I've had no rattles from it. The fact that it all comes set up out the box, the only thing you've got to add is the handlebars and the pedals. Great. No brain function needed there. Well, this thing doesn't lack poke at all. I mean, it gets up to the legal limit and it just feels quicker than 25 kilometers an hour. I'm guessing it's not, but it's just nippy. You know, for getting round places, it's just nippy. I like nippy, especially around town centres, it's fab. Especially around town centres, that's what you want. You want quick off the mark. Because what you have to remember is, every car and motorbike's trying to hit you off your e-bike. Nippy can get you out of trouble. Then again, nippy can get you in trouble. If somebody that drives powerful cars or has done in the past can get you in trouble as well. But yeah, there's no complaints from me about this bike. Well, it's got a few fleas. It's got a couple of fleas. Or I'll break that down a bit more. It's got about a flea and a half, and we'll get to that in the breakdown. One of the nice things about it, even though it's lightweight, it still feels quite stable. I mean, it's not as stable as my Engine Pro 2.0 with those great big 4.5-inch tyres on, but it feels stable enough.
yeah, no problems getting up here. As you can hear coming down here, there's no rattles. Yeah, it's not the coolest looking e-bike. I think it looks cool. I think it looks really pretty. And it's probably not a term that you can hear about e-bikes often, but I think it just looks, I think it has its own cool factor. And in that, it's got a lot going for it. I really do mean that. It's got a lot going for it. It's a really good little e-bike. When they asked me what e-bike I wanted, I actually wanted a trike off them, but they said, oh, well, that's not in stock. So I want to review a trike. Yeah, like I said, they didn't have any in stock. So the next best bike they had was kind of this thing, and it nips away when you need it to get going. It's actually really surprised me. People have been telling me for a while to review other e-bikes outside of Ebike, and I have thought about it, but then if I don't, I haven't got any comparison to Ebike bikes. I can't give you reviews on stuff for comparison. I mean, there's no point. I don't see the point in timing bikes or anything else, because they all have different abilities. I think it's more about how an e-bike makes you feel, and that's what I try and get across in these videos. It's not about me, it's about the bike, how you feel when you're riding it, what's the experience like. That's why I always go for the first person point of view, because that's how it's going to look when you're riding it. It's important. I get that other reviewers do it another way round, and I understand that. But for me, the point of view, first person point of view, is what you're going to have when you're riding the bike. You don't go around filming yourself, do you? You don't see yourself unless you see yourself in a window when you're out riding your bike. That makes sense? It does to me. I think it's important that when you review an e-bike, you really do push it to its limits. You need to get on hills with it. You need to get out and about with it. You need to put some miles on the bike. And whether you enjoy putting those miles on the bike, that's another thing. Have I enjoyed myself doing the review? And yeah, I have. I absolutely love riding around on this thing today. That 36 volt architecture for this bike. So I'm going to look at what controller it is in here, because this controller works really well. It really does work. It does the job like no other controller that I've come across in any other e-bike. And I've ridden a lot of e-bikes, but for UK legal, this is a step forward. We have to start understanding that the UK government isn't going to do anything about e-bike law anytime soon. They're not. They don't care. What they care about is
net zero policies that really are fairy stories. But to get to net zero, you need to have usable things like this, because not everybody can afford an electric car. As I said before, in the summer, I use my car 80% less than I used to because of e-bikes. And the mental health benefits, I know I keep going on about them, but the mental health benefits of these e-bikes, little adventures you can go on, and for what? Charging an e-bike 30-40 pence? And again, I'm going to hear that argument from you, yeah, but the electricity's got to come from somewhere. It does. But watt hours, what you get out per mile in comparison to, say, my car that does about 20 to the gallon, A, it's affordable, and B, it's a massive green option. I mean, I'm not all about the green stuff, it's irrelevant to me. But for those that find it relevant, well, it's an option. Anyway, let's go home and do the breakdown.
So let's talk about that little controller, and here's a picture of it here. It's tiny, and with the 36 volt architecture that this bike had, I expected a lot less. But it's powerful. It's a mighty little e-bike. Approximately weighs in at about 25 kilos. That's with the battery. Easy to get in and out of a car. Really easy to get in and out of a car. I didn't struggle with it, and even with the torn rotator cuff, you can see my shoulder dropped a bit. It's because I've got a torn rotator cuff. I had no problems getting in and out of the car. Those little 3-inch tyres absorb a lot of the road bumps, and within that, another surprise, I'd set the tyres at, what was it, about 1.5 psi, 2 psi under the max setting, and they absorbed a lot of the bumps on the road. Yeah, it was a nice bike to ride. I mean, I didn't expect a lot from the front fork. It's an on or off thing. I tended to have the front fork locked. I get more range that way. And yeah, it was just nice to maneuver around. I don't know if you saw the turning circle at the beginning of the video, but you can sort of, I mean, obviously you're not going to reverse on itself, but you've got a really good turning circle. As with most e-bikes, you're banging the front fork bumpers up against the frame on the turning circle. That's going to be even more prominent when I fit my crown forks on my Engine Pro 2.0 in the next couple of weeks. But yeah, I mean, lightweight, looks really pretty. I mean, I ordered it in Aurora Blue, and I thought it was a really nice colour. That iridium effect going for the paintwork, it just shimmered nice. And I like that. Got a tombstone shifter on it, which worked reasonably well with this. You know I'm not a fan of them. Mechanical brakes, oof. And they were quite bad on this. Got them as sweet as I could get them. Whenever I do a review for an e-bike, I don't leave the brakes as standard. They're checked, and I try and get them as tight as I possibly can. And it was a bit of a struggle with this. But they stopped the bike, as you saw in the braking test, but you had to put quite a bit of effort in. And for such a light bike, I expected a little bit more. Pros, well, it's weight. Its weight's its biggest pro. And because of that, it's got a hell of a battery range. Again, just looking at that little controller, you wouldn't expect much. But I didn't put a lot of effort in. The only time I had to put any real effort in was on the hills. The hill climb I struggled a bit. And the Benny Hill I struggled a bit. Not as much going up the other horrible hill. But, you know, you have to put the effort in. But the majority of the time, and I mean the majority, it was in Pass 5. And I went all over the place on it. And it wasn't an issue. only on those really steep hills, but they are some of the steepest hills around me. So I didn't expect miracles, but it did really well. So let's talk about range. I was massively impressed with the range. Now, I did about 32 kilometers on it during testing, and the next day when I switched the bike on, I was 3 out of 5 bars left. So even if in reality that's half, so say we've got half the range left, and let's say even less, I'm still getting 40 miles of range out of that bike at 240 pounds with my pack on. You saw where I was riding it. You know, it didn't have an easy day of it, and I never do let these bikes have an easy day of it. And it did really well, especially off-road. Didn't expect much of it going off-road, going on the grass and stuff. Yeah, you could hear the little motor kicking in its highest pass. You could hear it going, nee. But it didn't seem to bother it that much. I'd have liked to have taken the temperature of that controller going up after the hill climb. That would have been interesting. But I put most of the effort in, and it rewarded me by getting me up the hill. It's a cracking little e-bike. It really is. That front headlight's quite bright. It's got a brake light on it, which is equally as bright. And I'm just trying to think of stuff that I just didn't like about it. The handlebars are a bit narrow. I prefer my handlebars to just be a little bit wider, but that's not a big swap out. You could swap them out for something wider. And one of my biggest things was the drop of the pedal. So if these had been 4-inch tyres, the bike would have been lifted a little bit higher. So you'd have had the crankcase a little bit higher. You'd have had the bottom bracket a little bit higher. Whereas I think they put crank arms on that are for a 4-inch tyre bike. It sort of dropped them an extra inch. And they're pretty close to the ground, and even on the slightest bends I got caught out a couple of times. So if you're going to buy one, make sure that you don't get caught out like that, and buy one, should you. Do you know, if I was a delivery rider, this is brilliant. Really is a good little bike. You can go for miles on it, and in its highest pass you don't really need sort of like all that much help anyway. But you probably, if you were sort of lighter than me by around about 3 or 4 stone, and you know you were using it as a delivery bike, I can see you getting 50 miles range out of this in a day. Like I said, I had 3 out of 5 bars left the next day when I switched it on, so it's got to be 40 miles with me on. And let's be all right, let's be really generous, it's got to be 35 miles with me on. So if you, like I said, if you weigh sort of like 12, 13 stone and you're out doing, you're getting 45, 50 miles out of range out of one battery charge on this. I did get it in and out of the car. I didn't film it, but it was easy as getting in and out. Even easier when I put it in somebody else's car and I took the battery out. It weighs next to nothing. Battery's taking up a fair bit of the weight. It brings it to just over 20 kilos without the battery in. So it's not the heaviest thing in the world, and it's got a small footprint when it's folded up. I did like that. But again, that pedal thing did catch me off guard a little bit. Yeah, the brakes were terrible. The brakes were pretty bad. I'm going to go on about that a little bit more. But to swap them out for hydraulics, it cost you 60 quid, which is nothing. And I don't see the point in that padded thing on the back. There's one screwing thing for one peg on the one side, and as you saw, there isn't on the other. So I'm not sure if that's what that was for, but who are you going to put on that seat? For me, I'd get rid of that seat and I'd throw a rear rack battery on. 15, 18, 20 ampere, 36 volt battery. Just think of the range you'll get off of it then. And you could go out riding on it all day. I was out on it most of the day anyway. And I love being out on it. The saddle was really comfortable. I really like the saddle, and the fact that it's a flip top so you can get your battery out. And it's a really nice mechanism. As with all the mechs on it, the stem lock and the centre bike lock, they were all good mechanisms. They all lock really well. Another thing is, when it turns up, it's nearly built. It's nearly built for you. It comes in a little squarish box, and once you've unpacked it, all you've got to do is you've got to throw the pedals on, the handlebar on, and the seat on, and you're away. Job done. It took me 5 to 10 minutes once it was unpacked. Unpacking takes about 5 minutes, cutting all the crap away, but really easy to put together, and then you're away. come with a little gift box too, with a spare inner tube, fuse, what else have I? Brake pads. Come with a little bike tool, which really good. Had everything all you wanted, like on a Swiss Army knife. One of the other downsides, that Yolin display. So if it's cold out and you have to go up the pass buttons, those tiny buttons underneath, they drive me mad. And it's not just them, it's on the Engwe bikes as well. Trying to get the pass up with gloves on, you can't feel the buttons. And in the summer it's not an issue, but in the winter, like I said, when you're wearing gloves, and if you're wearing fingerless gloves, you're fine. I wear fingerless gloves most of the year round. It's fine. But if you have to cover your hands up with proper gloves, you're going to struggle to hit that button. The display is also not very bright in the sunlight because it's colour. I'd have preferred it to be a monochrome one. I did like the little bell. I like these little integrated bells. They got a nice little ring to them and they're easy access, so I quite like that too. So I've got to give it a number out of 10. It lacks a bit of power. That's my thing going up the hills. So if you're lighter than me, but if you're on my weight, you're going to struggle getting up hills with it. I'm a reasonably fit dude for my age, and I did struggle a little bit. I had to put a lot of effort in to get up on some of these bigger hills, but get up them it did. So that's one of the things I didn't like about it, which is going to knock it back a bit. That lowered pedal, it's just a couple of inches off the ground. And like I said, it did catch me out a couple of times, but once I was aware of it, I was aware of it. But I'm making you aware of it too. It's a low strike point on banking. So I'm making you aware of that too. I understand the alloy wheels. They're very lightweight and they're thinner than ones that I'm used to. So they've got a thinner splines than I'm used to on the Engwe bikes or any other bikes that I've ridden. These are very lightweight, and that's one of their bonuses, but I don't think they look very good. I don't like that curve in them. I'd have preferred them to be straight, but there's probably strength in the curve, so I understand why they've gone for these. That's just a visual thing. That's all made up for by the paintwork. The paintwork is absolutely stunning. It's gorgeous, and it's the best paintwork I've seen on any e-bike yet. Really do like it, and it's on there quite thick, so you're going to struggle to scratch this bike. I was expecting at least a little bit of rattle from those mud guards, those fenders. Nothing, not a sound. In fact, that bike was absolutely silent. And if you're wondering why there's music through the first part of the video, I had a sound issue because of the wind. So all I did is I announced my voice out, and then I just overlapped it over some music. So the voice is in time and everything else, but I've just overlapped it over music rather than you listening to the wind blowing. But towards the end, I managed to get rid of that. So yeah, still a learning curve with me with filming. But yeah, it did all the hills fine. It got up I had to put more effort in than I normally do, and within that, I've sort of got to bring it back a little bit. Like I said, the braking's dog shit. It did let it down, and I adjusted them up as tight as I could get them, but they weren't brilliant. And as you can see where I did the pull stop on the brakes, it's quite a way back before they actually started to bite properly. I mean, my weight at 240 pound doesn't help, but that's irrelevant. It's over my threshold for 20 kilos, and no bike should be sold at this weight without hydraulic brakes on. Hydraulic brakes do make a difference. For any of you start yapping on about, oh, you should brake earlier anyway, want to work the brakes to work to the speeds that you're going at. And 15.5 mile, 25, well, I was doing 25 mile an hour down that hill at the time when I hit the brakes. So I want them to stop a little bit better than they did. And the way you do that is that linear stopping you get with hydraulic brakes. So let's do it. 9.1 out of 10. Yeah, I was going to knock it back one, but 9.1 out of 10, just because the fact that it surprised me so much. It's a brilliant little e-bike, and I get these things turn up and I look at them and go, you know, I've got a bike outside that's a 27-inch mountain bike with a battery on that I've got to review next week or the week after, and I don't expect much for it because it's only sort of like £700, 36 volt thing, but it's lightweight. It's just over 20 kilos, I think, with the battery on. So I get highly surprised by that. I mean, I'm kind of used to fat tyre bikes, and I do like fat tyre bikes, but you know, I do like a good commuter bike. I do like the P20. I love that little bike. I do like the M1 Pro. It's a really surprising bike because of its A, its weight, and B, it's just everything you need in a bike. In fact, it's just got too much on it that it really needs. I want to test the step through version, the M1 step through, because I think that's going to be the sweet spot of the bikes, which I'll probably do in the future. Next week, I've got a new bike coming from Ebike. I've to review that, and I've also got to review that mountain bike. I've got another video coming up on a subject I know you're all interested in, and in another video I'm probably going to take an e-bike ride around York, so just to show you what York's like. I'm going to start doing more of these. The London one I enjoyed doing. I need to get more filming in to get more experience with it, so I'm going to do York next, and after that I'm probably going to do Leeds again. So we're going to just have a ride around Leeds. We're not going to be talking about e-bikes, we're going to be talking about York. We're going to be talking about Leeds and what it's like to ride around these cities, because I think it's important. Yeah, 9.1 out of 10. Don't forget to subscribe. If you look down beneath me now, you can see my discount code for this bike, and there'll be a link in the description. Please subscribe. I'm starting to get good subscribers now. I'm getting about 10 a day. Yay! All this adds up over time. It is the irony. I do enjoy doing this more than I do work. I'd rather be out on an e-bike filming. I'd rather be out learning a new skill set rather than sort of like stuff that I already know. Anyway, have a nice week, everyone.